All right, you got a shell? Oh, you beat me to it. Well, how about we'll do it with the with the tea. Boolah, brother.
I got some.
Welcome, my friend.
I got some. Whoops. Boolah. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you, dude?
Doing good.
Yeah?
Is it on?
Yeah. Oh, we're fucking in
We're
it,
live.
dude. We're
All right.
live, yeah.
All right, good.
There's no escaping now.
No,
Appreciate you sitting down with me today, James.
there never is any escaping anyway.
There's not. Once we fall out of the vagina, dude, we're here. We're here. And thank God we fell out of the vaginas we did, because some people fell out of a vagina in a terrible neighborhood or in a third world country.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know?
That's
and it's
what
like, that's the roll of the dice, dude.
I know. We're very lucky to be here. We are in the society we got.
You know, because a lot of people say, like, well, fuck America and our government doesn't give a fuck about us. But it's like, yeah, it could be worse.
The government is us, and they're just parts of us.
They're just people, right?
Yeah, they're just people. You know, each person is very similar to us. Just when you put them in a group and they got some kind of weird motive, it can make them, you know, follow the higher authority that may be more powerful than them, overly influencing them for money and power. But still manipulation one by one.
We literally had this conversation last night about how good people end up, you know, making money. Whether it's outside of politics, you got a good person, they're an entrepreneur, they want to do well, they start making some money, they get to make $1 million, and then they start hanging out in these circles of people who are like, yeah, you like $1 million? How would you like $1 billion? And you start saying, yeah, I really like $1 billion. All right, I can help you get to $1 billion, but there's some rules you're gonna have to follow. You know, and I think once you start climbing that ladder, that's when your morality can start to be challenged.
Yeah.
You
But
know?
then you justify it by, you know, oh, I'll donate 10% to the poor or whatever. Look at Escobar in Colombia or wherever that was.
Yeah, I think that's Colombia.
Yeah, he killed, you know, hundreds of thousands probably, but he helped hundreds of thousands too. Maybe he killed 1,000, 2,000 people. Who knows?
Definitely thousands of people.
Yeah, really, it's just men, women, and children.
But people overlooked that because he was providing opportunity and growth in impoverished neighborhoods. Almost like a what's that called? Like a ghetto hero or a ghetto superstar.
Exactly,
you know?
Exactly. So he actually ended up thinking he was okay, but in the end, I mean, he knew who he was. He couldn't sleep very well at night, right?
Yeah.
He probably had a gun right under his pillow every night, and the whole bit. In the end, it caught up with him. That's karma.
I wonder if it was his own people who turned him in.
Probably so.
Like Jesus.
For money.
That's right. You can there's never enough. You're not making enough where that somebody else couldn't come to you with more. You know? And there's that thing about people at the top, that the people closest to you end up being the ones who want to see you fall.
Yeah, isn't that weird? That
You know?
comes down to competition, yeah, where you see yourself as separate, but it's actually based on fear, because you're separating yourself from your friends or your community as soon as you do that, or from God or from the Creator or the creation. You're trying to, like, break laws that can't really be broken. It's all an illusion. I mean, how long are you going to overpower this person? What is that? How many years are you going to be on this planet? Like, what is your main objective? Are you trying to feel good for how long?
So are we talking about Putin?
Yeah. yeah. What's his bottom line?
What's the deal there?
Yeah.
You're like what's the guy with the who brings the animals on talk shows? Corbin?
Yeah.
Corbin, you are officially hey Bentley, you are officially the first person to bring a live animal on the show, and it is a cute one. This is Bentley, y'all. You might see him popping up in and up throughout the episode. It's all right. We have our dogs that bark downstairs too. We're a kennel. That's the benefits of being live from Hakuna. You never know what you're gonna witness.
That's what life is anyway. It's impromptu.
That's really the whole kind of premise with this. That's why I press record before you even knew it. Really. Because it's sometimes if I'm like, all right, you ready?
It becomes too serious.
Yes. And we like to just start it up. And all of these podcasts, if you go back and watch them, you'll see like we're already conversing because I've pressed play when the person or record. The person didn't know.
After about 5 minutes.
Yeah. And then Maddie just told me yesterday, like, dude, I didn't know you were recording at the beginning, but it allows
That's cool.
It allows the viewers to feel like they just kind of like jumped in on a conversation, like fly on the wall, so it's intentional.
You could turn this into a reality show one day, have cameras everywhere that record everything.
Like that show Big Brother?
Yeah.
Well,
no, it would be more of a character development thing, and then you could make a series, like a mini series,
We definitely have enough drama in here.
You probably have enough characters here.
Characters. That's a more fair term. I said drama, but honestly, we're pretty drama-free around here.
Yeah, you are. It's a different. When you walk in this place, you can feel a difference.
Thanks, dude.
Maybe the ceilings are high. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, that's what it is. I account it to the high ceilings. It allows the drama to float way up to the ceiling like balloons that got away.
I believe it's also the intention of you guys.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, the management, the ownership, even the guy that owns this building. It's all like that. Companies work that way. Governments work that way.
It's top down.
Planets work that way.
Yeah, it's top down.
It's top down.
I had a conversation the other day with somebody who works at a kava bar who actually manages several, and they said, people really only like to go to their kava bar, and they just stick there. And I said, man, that's a top-down mentality.
Yeah, for a little while they'll be that way.
If you promote to your community that we encourage you to go to other kava bars and wear other kava bar shirts in here. We encourage our staff to wear other kava bar shirts while they're working. We think it instills a sense of community and collaboration over competition. Because a rising tide lifts all boats. And we think we're not in competition against each other. We're in competition against alcohol bars.
Exactly.
We want more people to learn about the life-saving and life-enhancing benefits of kava and kratom, and the more places that sell it, the more opportunity for new consumers to stumble in.
Yeah. I'm always concerned that the only thing is that as kava bars get more and more popular, what's going to happen to the supply? Because this stuff, from what I hear, takes like 7 to 12 years to grow or something like that. Like, maybe there's a way for us to grow it here with hydroponics and all. I wonder if people are looking at that, because that would be something that if you had enough supply, I mean, you could literally almost not change the world, but I mean, there'd be a lot of people that would no longer be drinking alcohol in the bars, getting in fights over nothing.
Yeah, it's so true. And, you wonder, it's that whole supply and demand deal. Like, as demand increases, you hope that the supply can support it. We're very blessed that our suppliers have an abundance and don't see any shortages in the near future. We were able to push through the whole all that debacle with the shipping containers off the coast of California. So thank God for that.
It's weird how it does have to travel a long ways to get here.
Right. Oh, what doesn't have to travel a long way to get here?
I know.
What doesn't?
We don't really realize that until we start looking.
Yeah. Our medicine, our vital medicines.
I mean, look with Ukraine right now. We're starting to feel some, we will.
So how much of that do you think is really from that conflict that's happening there,
or
how much of it is just being blamed on that, because that's what's leading the news cycle? Because remember, all of the terrible things that were happening were blamed on COVID,
right
and that was leading the news cycle. And now it's like gas prices are going up, and that's because of Russia.
And it's all like they always have to pick one thing, and that becomes the whole thing they're focusing on.
Right.
At least the news thing that I listen to, I don't know, it's a station number 115. I don't know what that is on XM radio, but it's they always have one big thing, and they'll do sports, they do it, and then they bam, 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 the same headline.
Well, it's said that's really started with the 24-hour news cycle.
Yeah.
Where they had to fill airtime.
There has to be a hot spot, though, like the top 3.
Right.
And they won't shut up about those top 3 things.
And then all of a sudden it'll disappear.
Yeah, and then it's just, like, what happened to the murder hornets? Like, right before COVID, right?
Can you believe that was even a fucking, thing in the news? They're like, all right, people are freaked out enough. Let's tell them about murder hornets. How many people died from murder hornets?
They're not killer hornets. They're not dangerous hornets.
No,
they're not aggressive.
These are predetermined, right?
They premeditate.
Premeditated murder hornets. Unbelievable. Well, COVID has disappeared from the news.
Pretty much. And I hope the masks are disappeared pretty soon, too.
I saw somebody the other day with 14 masks on.
Her
outfit was made of masks.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, but her mask was made of her outfit. Do you think Do you think when China was developing this fucking bioweapon, they thought about the Lilly Pulitzer cloth you were going to use to cover your face? You think they maybe thought, ooh, I wonder if your Lilly Pulitzer fabric will protect you from this bioweapon?
It enters probably through your eyes anyway. I mean, don't people know
Interesting.
basic? Like when we were kids, they told us don't rub your eyes. You'll catch a cold.
Yeah.
You'll catch a cold virus. You'll
Okay,
catch
well,
a
here,
flu virus.
let's do an example real
Yes.
quick, right? So this is my mask. Okay, cloth mask. First of all, you can hear me through there, right? All right, now watch this. I'm going to hit my vape.
Right. Oh yeah. I think each of the molecules.
Did you see the
yeah.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, each of those particles in that vapor
Yeah.
is a lot larger than the virus.
Way larger.
What, like probably millions or hundreds of thousands of
Way
times
larger.
So yeah,
So an N95 mask can offer some protection,
some.
but
yeah.
most people are wearing the surgical masks that are open on the
Oh
side.
no, their nose is sticking out.
or literally a Lilly Pulitzer cloth that they got from Worth Avenue. I got a call
I know.
fit by a
With
woman
this
at
cloth.
Publix who I like accidentally almost bumped into her. I'm like, oh, excuse me, sorry. She said, put a mask on. And
Oh.
she's the one with the Lilly Pulitzer that I saw, which is like, for those of you who don't know, it's like Lilly Pulitzer is a designer in Palm
Yeah.
Beach, and it's a certain patterned fabric or whatever. And I said, well, your mask isn't doing anything. And she got furious. And she went to the front and got the officer and the manager and started pointing at
Yeah.
me, It's just people have been so brainwashed by
I know.
fear,
Fear. It's fear.
They-
And then when you got fear like that, it's the same as road rage or something. It's based on fear or based on lack of control. So when you have an opportunity, whether you know it or not, you strike out because that person did this. So all of a sudden, all of your problems, not just the problem of the traffic itself, you blame that person.
right?
And so that's why there's violence.
Well,
Probably.
it's also not even blaming the person. It's like
well,
when you're
projecting it on
yeah,
that
but
per-
on
like,
the vehicle. Like if that person was next to you in line at Publix.
oh, then he's a person. He has no car. He's not even. It's completely different.
Are you
yes.
going to scream at them, flick
No, you
them off,
shouldn't.
tell them to fuck off? No, you're probably going to say, "Oh, excuse me, you go ahead." But when you're in a fucking massive vehicle,
Oh, yeah.
and it kind of takes the human out of it.
It does.
So
you,
do the masks.
You don't even see. Yeah. Isn't it weird?
How much? How much of it is intentional?
Yeah. Like, where are they wanting us to be more anonymous and buried in cyberspace without really faces? Maybe we can have sunglasses.
Yeah.
Like those hacker guys, the ones that wear the mask with the whatever, the would be like that.
Are you talking
The
about
hoodies.
anonymous?
Anonymous. Well, yeah, that kind of look. Like maybe they want us to all start looking anonymous, which really makes you all look like one person, like one entity or something. Like follow the rules. Wear black, wear gray, don't show your
Antifa.
face.
Be like Antifa.
Yeah, kind of hunch over, be depressed.
When they first told us that we had to keep 6-foot distance from each other and couldn't gather in groups of more than 10 people, my initial thought wasn't like, oh, they're protecting us from a virus. It was like, oh, they want to separate us. Oh, they want to challenge our right to assemble. They also want to monitor all of our lines of communication. If we're in a group of more than 10 people, ideas can flow freely there.
Right.
If we're afraid of the person who's near us and the only way we can message them is through Facebook, then all of the conversations are monitored, Then
a
there's
good point.
also some interesting theories that when they separated us, it was to calibrate like tracking on the phones. So they turn on the 5G. 5G is like this thing. Now, I'm not saying 5G made COVID or 5G makes you sick, but the way 5G works is it's the only cell service that we've ever had that you get your own specific bandwidth. Every person gets their own dedicated bandwidth.
And they know exactly who you are.
So
right.
now let's calibrate it. Let's separate everybody 6 feet. So now we can dial in, pew, pew, laser focus onto these different things. This is me putting my tinfoil hat on.
It's true. I mean, yeah, that's the reality of the science. It's what it's doing. What are they using it for? It could be scary.
And it's like we're in a very elementary phase of all of this.
I know. This
So-
is just the first wave.
That's right. It's just
And
the
it's
beginning.
moving fast. Technology is.
Well, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I usually like to start with, who are you and what do you do?
I'm a Kava customer and I talk. No, I'm James McClure and originally grew up in Texas and I moved here in 1989. I had my son he was born in 85. So he went to your junior high.
Elementary.
Elementary, right.
Yeah, that's a funny story.
Yeah, that is.
Well, I'll tell it real quick. So James came in, and it was probably our first or second week we were open. And you came in about 3 or 4 times. And on the third or fourth time, you said, I like your tattoos. Do you make music? And I said, I do. I made rap music for years. And you said, oh, you might know my son. He goes by Proto Man. Out of Proto Man, is that right?
Yeah, Proto Man.
Proto Man out of Fort Lauderdale. I said, oh, no, I make all my music in North Carolina. Probably wouldn't know him. You said, well, you should check him out. He's pretty talented. His name's Neil McClure. And immediately, you remember, I looked like I had seen a ghost.
You were holding, well, you shook my hand, something. We were like really close. And then your eyes just went like weird. Like you were staring at me for a second. Then you looked away like you were. And then you looked back at me and you said, Neil McClure?
Well, it's a name that I haven't heard in 25,
yeah, it's like your brain
25 plus years. And come to find out, the universe is so small. Neil was my best friend in elementary school. I moved away in 6th grade. And we never remained. We didn't keep in contact because there was no Facebook then and whatnot. And funnily enough, man, you came into the bar, and we actually you and I have known each other for, let's see, if I was in 3rd grade when I met Neil, I was probably 6, 7.
Yeah.
So that's almost 30 years ago. We've known of each other.
It seemed like your hair was like light blonde.
It was.
Okay.
It was.
Yeah.
I can actually show you a picture.
You were a skinny kid. Everybody was skinny back then. All the kids.
Yo, what are you trying to say? I definitely fattened up, man.
Well,
I got married and I got fat and happy.
I think society in general.
Let me see here.
Bentley.
Let me find. I have a picture, and this might bring you back. For those of you who are listening and not watching, I am looking through my cell phone to find a picture of myself in elementary school that James will remember. Boom, boom, boom. Yes. Pictures. My sister recently sent me a bunch of pictures from our past. And this is the Blake you may remember. What's going to be the closest one? I'd say this one here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hey, little dude.
Isn't that funny? Let me see if I can get this in the camera.
I remember,
you guys will dig this.
And go down a little or further. Yeah, the color. Yeah.
Anyway, there's the hair that he's talking about. You can't see my cute little face.
That's exactly
there.
how I remember the hair. Yeah.
So funny.
It's slender.
Yeah. So you moved to Florida in '89. You had Neil. What is your background? What do you do for work? What have you done for work?
Programmer for a corporation, and I've usually been working for companies. I worked at Blockbuster corporate for years. That's what brought me to Fort Lauderdale. But programming, it's mostly the same architecture. It's a IBM mid-range system. Back
you work
office
for IBM? Or no, that's the
no.
system you worked on.
Yeah. It's an IBM system. It's more, say, data warehousing, legacy, production support, like purchase orders. It's called back office.
Okay, yeah, understood.
Receivables, inventory, payroll, stuff that people usually don't like to do.
Right.
The business rules, the business of the business.
You're into it. You like the data. You like the numbers.
I like to put a box around things. At the end of the day, I can check it off and say, I know I did this. And maybe you write a program, it goes in, and it lives for years.
Yeah.
I've got stuff out there that's probably been running for 20 years.
No shit.
Yeah, with no problems. And or it does have problems, and people spend their time fixing stuff.
Now, do you still do that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the things that I was really intrigued about you is kind of your eccentric or esoteric view on things.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to kind of like get to know you more, pick your brain a bit. So how long have you been, what's the word I'm looking for? You seem like a spiritual dude.
Yeah, I think I've been on that path forever. I went to a private school when I was a kid, up to 6th grade. And then all of a sudden I went from that very protected, sheltered, loving, I would say, but intimidating. Like, you follow the rules or else God will bury you
Yeah.
in fire, into the public school world, and just seeing the differences as the world also started to change. In the late 60s, early 70s, we went from literally black and white, Leave It to Beaver, to like anything goes. I mean, things were like a wave coming slowly, but it just, to see that change, and I've changed with it, and I realize it's a spiritual awakening. It's consciousness speeding itself up, part of the creation. And it's not just an accident that I feel like that I'm in this world at this time. This is a very critical, important shifting going on. I mean, maybe my ego is big on that, but aren't we all? Don't we all feel like there's a reason we're here?
Yeah.
The higher self is trying to do something
Yes.
to help the collective, to see itself as it really is, not as what we're going through, but who are we really? Where are we heading as a species? Is there anything really wrong, or are we just creating things that are wrong because we see the universe as lacking, which in reality it's not. We create the lack through greed, through trying to predict that, you're going to run out of this or that, because we're not sharing enough, because there's that 1 or 2% that's hoarding so much. So like we said earlier, from the top down, well, that 4 or 5 or 1% or whatever is hoarding, well, the next level down hoards a little bit, but not quite as much. And you finally go all the way down to the bottom. We're still doing some hoarding. But some of the most
Toilet paper.
Yeah, but some of the most generous people out there are the ones that are homeless. They may have nothing but a shirt and some. They'll give you their,
I saw a video.
They're not hoarding.
I saw a video just like that, literally yesterday or the day before. This YouTuber goes up to a homeless guy who's trying to take some metal off a piece of wood so he can scrap it. He goes up to the guy, he's filming him. He says, "Hey, man, I need to catch the bus. You got $2 I could borrow?"
and
the guy doesn't even think twice about it.
Mm-hmm.
While he's messing with this metal, he reaches in his pocket, and no offense to the guy, he looks like he doesn't have 2 sticks to rub together.
And he still
And he gives him $2, and the guy says, "You know what? I didn't need the $2. Here's $500." My whole
I've seen that
thought
guy.
was, I'm going to give $500 to the first person who says yes. And then there's another video where somebody gives a homeless guy in a wheelchair, a crippled man in the subway, $100, and then they keep a camera on him, and for the next 20 minutes, as his homeless friends or acquaintances or people he doesn't even know come by, he starts giving out the money.
Golly.
And it's like, it's very interesting of the people who don't have are so willing to share with others.
Right. And think about it this way. Maybe they aren't programmed as much as we are, or the general population is that, we have to buy all these things, and we got pressure to compete, or at least be greater than or equal to everybody. Even in your dying breath, you can't surrender and just say, "Man, I'm sorry for what I said or did," or here's all my money, or share it, or give it to share it, or whatever. We just hoard things. What are we trying to hang on to?
Anything. It's like it's grasping for reality or
safety,
meaning or purpose in stuff.
Yeah.
And like you're
stuff.
saying that, maybe they weren't programmed. So maybe they were, underprivileged, didn't have TVs to grow up in front of, or didn't go to the movies all the time to be subject to this programming of consumerism.
Right. So maybe that's really who we are. Maybe it's a deep thought, because they do have mixed up people on the street and but some of their hearts are wide open. And maybe that's more like the way we were when we were children. And anything's possible, and I'll share. It's only when you realize that you're separate from this other person that you start to say, "No, that's mine. I'm hoarding it. Even though I have 17 balls, I'm not going to give you one to play with."
It's like a fear of losing it all if you give one of it, you know?
Yeah, and then that becomes, okay, I'll give you a ball if you'll be my best friend. Or if you follow my rules. I remember this kid that had these jelly beans down the street, and he had all the different colors, but for some reason I wanted a black one, and he would not give me one. I thought, this is a big deal. And he said something like, "Well, I'll give you one if you stay another hour, or something, or you'll have dinner." I'm like, this guy's manipulating me over these jelly beans. I just want one. He's got a bag of them.
Right.
You learn, and then this kid also used to steal things too. And his parents were very wealthy, but he was more of a kleptomaniac. He would take the toys and keep them in his garage. I don't know whatever became of him. I know he used to cry a lot. He would have little temper tantrums and always hurt himself and go home crying.
You know, I've tried in my adult life to lead with gratuity. So, you know, I don't have a lot of money, but if I come across somebody who's in need, I'll be the first person to try to help them out.
Good.
You know, because I believe that the universe rewards you for that.
It does.
You know, and I don't want to, I'm not searching for reward, but I'm paying it forward, if that makes sense. You know?
It does.
I always try to pay it forward. And I feel like, you know, and that's like doing the next right thing, you know, helping people when you can. And then things kind of just fall into place for you because you're always doing the next right thing.
Your intention is what creates your reality. Like when you give that, what is your intention? You know, well, as soon as it's just giving. So as soon as you give, something else is going to give to you. But if you give, think, I'm going to get a payback, then all of a sudden you're like, there's an obligation that someone has to pay you back. So you're constantly thinking, I need to manipulate people so that I can get more. But it's really you doing it. It's a reflection. We all sort of know that. But what are we doing each day to live by those rules that we understand, like the golden rule, like do unto others as you would have others do unto you? I believe that one rule is all the 10 Commandments right there. All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so start with that. And then, like, just be the change, you know, that Gandhi said.
You have to, man.
Daily, every minute, every second, in your next breath, you have a new chance. It's constantly being recreated now. So you actually are creating reality through your intentions.
It's so true, man. Do you do things daily to keep yourself aligned with your like purpose or for finding peace? Like, do you practice meditation?
Oh yeah, I've done
yoga.
I've got a 500-hour. It was like a 2-year certification to be yoga teacher, but I never became a teacher. I just wanted to go through all the training.
Yeah, smart.
Kriya Yoga, which that deals with self-realization, the fact that you are not separate from God, that you are God, but you're in an individual body right now, which is only more an expression of what God needs as multiples. All of us are like an eye for God.
So Kanye says, I am God. Have you heard him?
I think.
And the universe or the world, the media, paints him out to be crazy. And I think there's this thing where anytime the media is telling you somebody's crazy, you might want to listen to that person.
Interesting. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Obviously, he has a really big ego, and sometimes ego can get in the way. And a lot of times these searches for self come with an ego death, and he would probably benefit from a bit of psychedelics.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like what you're saying, you know, we all are, you know, that we were made in God's image, right? That's the theory, you know?
Well, that's the reality of what we're all going to have to go through anyway. So if you're alive on this earth now, like you can experience ego death probably. You probably do it anyway without even realizing every time you go to sleep. So, you know, trusting your higher self. What is it that wakes you up? That's your higher self. It's not really your body. It's something else. It's not software, but it might be. Maybe this is all virtually created. But I still believe even beyond that, there is a higher consciousness, and that's you. You're the one pushing the button somewhere up there.
Yeah?
Yeah, in a way.
Like this is an avatar. We're an avatar for our higher being self.
Well, maybe it's something I came up with, my own little funny idea. It's a simulation of a simulation, so that makes it real.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, when you're talking about what wakes you up and going to sleep and ego death when you sleep, there's something that really intrigues me about sleeping, that we're all required to do it. And if you're lucky enough to live to be 90 years old, you will have slept for 30 years
I know, isn't that crazy?
of your life.
Yeah.
And if you don't sleep, you'll go crazy. You know, it's like you got to go to sleep, right? And for me, when I sleep, I have the most intense, exciting dreams.
Good.
To the point where it feels like that's another reality that I'm living in. And it's triggered this thought that maybe, that could be the reality. Maybe that could be the reality. And maybe this is like, we're just, like in that world, we owe, 2/3 of the day here, and why? Like, what is the purpose of why we come to this incarnation?
Yeah.
For 2 out of the 3 portions of a day.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's to make stuff. Humans make stuff.
Yeah, technology. Like we're trying to improve ourselves, but we're trying to make life easy when it's already easy if you quit trying to do stuff.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Which like outside of yourself. What I've learned in yoga and all, it teaches you that anything on the outside is just kind of an illusion. It's really all one. There's only one. So as soon as you separate yourself and try to get things from outside of yourself, it's an illusion. It's really only you that can change how you feel. Anything else out there is temporary, but the outside is inside. So focus on what's closest to you right now. It's your own aura, your own heart. But we're endless and boundless. There is no space or time. So what is your intention of where you are? You should be the observer, the creator, the benevolent one, not the forceful, vengeful, fearful, egotistic, scared of dying one, because we have both parts. So with every blink of an eye, every breath, you have a chance to reframe what's going on.
I heard
be
something.
mindful of everything you're doing, everything you're saying, but also relax. Be a child. Don't take it so seriously. Like I've said before once, life is too serious to be taken seriously.
Yeah, that's well said. I heard something interesting the other day about like anger and pain and emotional pain, that a lot of people think that the world is doing them wrong, or people are hurting them, and that all of that pain comes from your response
Exactly
to somebody's words. So
Yeah.
it was said that if you were to curse me out in a different language, smiling, it wouldn't mean anything to me, right? You're saying terrible things to me. I don't understand them, but you're smiling. So I'm like, But if you do it in English, all of a sudden I give those words power now. And now I internalize that feeling, and it's almost like what you're saying, like within is the power to change everything that's happening to you. People are so reactionary when if somebody were to tell you fuck off or whatever, and you just let it slide, let it roll off your back, you'll find so much more peace and joy.
Because there's no resistance. A lot of our problems are caused by resistance.
Interesting.
I mean, you should let the anger, you can feel it. Whatever you do, don't deny it, because like they say, what you resist persists, but you got to feel it. You got to. But you can't, make it, not be there. You can make it be less and less and less, because as you observe it, it becomes something that you can put a box around. Maybe you can make the light, it's like a bright light in your face, you turn the light dimmer. Maybe it's a loud banging in your ears, you can make it more quiet. Maybe your heart is hurting, you can make it get less and less, more flat, more towards the middle, right?
So you have to be able to recognize the feelings that you're having, but not let them control you, and actually take control of them.
Yeah. It's all based on your thoughts, and your thoughts come from your intentions. Your intentions come from your higher self and your focus and your awareness.
Have you heard of simulation theory?
I think.
So there's some mathematicians, people much smarter than myself, which isn't saying much, that think that there's a probability. Okay. So, So think about like the Oculus headset, right?
Right.
This thing, this VR, right? That's like the Pong. That's like the very rudimentary version of virtual reality. right? As technology progresses, it'll probably get to a point where it'll be indistinguishable from real life.
I know.
Some people say that that's potentially what we're in right now.
Right. They've even come up with a percentage amount.
Right.
Certain mathematician is something like, I don't know, I'm just making a number, like 68% chance that this is all a simulation.
Correct.
And don't ask me how they come up with those numbers, but yeah, like you said, they fill up blackboards and they've studied the mathematical laws that go back hundreds of years or thousands to come up with these answers. And these are the same answers that build the computers, put us on the moon or Mars, all the things that we do in biotechnology.
Do you think we really went to the moon?
I have a feeling that the first time we didn't and the second time we did.
Really?
Because, it was a good explanation someone gave me. I don't remember the details, but something about the space race, and we had to get there first. But there's just so many variables in, like, with the sun, not casting a shadow, or the shadow is in the opposite direction.
Yep.
And the flag was stiff, it wasn't blowing, and things like that.
Yep. So there's a theory that a lot of those images that we saw were filmed in a studio.
Right, yeah.
But we did go to the moon, but none of the film made it back because of radiation.
That's a good point.
So what they had to do was to stage it to prove that we made it.
That sounds even more... Okay, because that sort of ties both theories together.
Right.
The one that we didn't go and the one that we did, so we just don't have proof.
Some people say, well, why haven't we been back?
I know. There could be lots of resources right there.
But who's to say we haven't been back?
Yeah.
Who's to say that we don't know what's happening on the other side of the moon?
We don't. Why doesn't it orbit? I mean, how many other planets do that? Or
it doesn't turn, right?
Right.
We always see the same side of it.
Why? I mean, how many is that common in the in other solar systems? Or I don't know. So
I don't know. I do think it's odd that there's certain things that you always see the same spot.
Yeah.
Like the moon. Like we're turning, but every time we see the moon, we see the same fucking thing.
Right. Right.
I've seen videos now. Anything can be faked on video now.
I've talked to people that say they really convinced that everything is a simulation. Everything, even what's out there.
Like a Truman Show type thing.
Yeah. And it'll boggle your mind.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's once you have a belief, then you're able to prove it. So that justifies your belief. It doesn't really mean you're right, but to you, as you explain it, that's exactly what you believe. So that becomes your truth.
Right. And perception is reality.
Yeah. Perception is projection. Like what you're believing and feeling that's what you create.
So some people think the Earth is flat. They are fully convinced.
I know. I've talked
that the Earth is flat. You've talked to some people who believe this,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't convince them otherwise.
No, and they right.
I feel like when there's so many things that have happened throughout history that make you realize that we've been lied to, when somebody presents you with a theory that's so fucking out of the world, all of a sudden you feel like you could believe it because everything else has been a fucking lie.
They were having a big discussion on that. It was at another kava bar 3 or 4 months ago. And this one guy, I don't see him anymore, but he was trying to convince, at least 4 or 5 people. We were outdoors talking about that the Earth is flat, and we were asking questions. Some people really belligerent and very,
aggressive.
Yeah, almost, yeah. And everything he said sort of had a justification in a certain way when you view it through his eyes. And I was the one that stepped in because he was going, hey, they say I'm crazy. He's kind of using me almost to say, yeah, I believe the Earth is flat, which I don't.
Right. I don't either, to be clear.
Maybe it's sort of oblong, like a
It's definitely not perfectly round.
It's a flat egg.
Yeah. It's definitely spherical in a sense.
Well, if you just sum things down when they say time and space is also an illusion in a way, then, okay, you're talking about shapes. Well, I don't know. It's our projection of reality in some way. The creator created it. Who is the creator, right? So it could be flat or round, or it could be a spiral. Does it really matter? It just is. It is what you believe. So try to respect other people's opinion as well. So what I said was, look, I said, you say this, you say that. And I say, all I can say is we don't even know if we're really here right now.
Yeah.
Or we're just dreaming. I said, so that sort of answers both y'all's questions, right? I said, and my feeling is...
Mic drop.
Yeah, life is a lucid dream. That we know we're dreaming, but we know we're here.
Right.
But we know there's something or someone controlling this, keeping it temporary. We're going to wake up. Boom. I mean, for all we know, you might wake up, you live your 80, 90, 100, or who knows, maybe 150 years as we, people.
Yeah.
And then you wake up and you're like, holy crap, you're in like a hospital. And they say, oh, yeah, you bumped your head. God, you got to, you haven't been to school for a whole week. Are you okay? It's a wholly different life with a mother. And you got this, wow, I had this weird dream.
This whole existence was like a dream.
Right. So you're back, but your soul is there.
What do you think deja vu is?
Some people have said that's a break in time, that you were in the future, in the past, things like that. I don't know. I've had that feeling. I used to have it a lot when I was younger. I thought it was cool. I used to love it. I used to say, I'm in deja vu. Like, I'm in the zone.
Yeah.
I don't do it quite as often. I think what happened is that I got to where I could do it feel it. It just became kind of normal for me.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you've done this before, or almost what's going to be said or happen, but almost like it was in the past and you're reliving it.
It's very strange when it happens. It's a very familiar feeling, and you're sure, like, this has happened before.
Yeah.
And did you see it in a dream? That's that feeling. Wait, maybe I dreamt this.
Yeah, exactly.
Or there's that other thing where it's like...
a cool feeling.
It is a cool feeling, and it feels like you've shifted into a parallel reality for a second.
It's actually calming in a way. I don't know how to explain why it always made me feel kind of calm and amazed.
Yeah.
Other people have said it's just your mind leaping forward like 100th of a second and then back, and so you're getting this image of that it happened in the past.
It could just be like a psychological break.
Yeah.
Like maybe overstimulated or something. And that's the thing with time. Like you said, like time is such a relative thing.
It's all based on our scientific laws and our beliefs, and all these beliefs and all the physical laws, in fact, came from the cavemen. Each day we learned a little bit more. Like, we learned what gravity was. We learned what distance was. We started measuring things. We started teaching each other. It became our DNA. It became our laws. Each generation took those same beliefs and laws and kept, proving them or trying to disprove them.
Well, nowadays, if you try to disprove something, you'd be called a conspiracy theorist or somebody who's passing misinformation. It's like, isn't that the base of science? Aren't we constantly supposed to be trying to disprove our beliefs?
Right. In other words, you don't just take it blindly. You try to disprove it more than prove.
But you can be silenced for that now.
I know.
There's
so much out there, though, with consciousness and people's awareness. It still goes back to our beginnings, I believe. Like, when they say, oh, they could levitate, they could move the pyramids, they did all the, maybe all that is true. I mean, maybe we'll start seeing those things, but we may realize maybe it was done with computers, like in an alternate reality world.
Like Minecraft or Roblox. Like somebody just fucking built that shit.
Right. And maybe whatever they did do the pyramid, but it's maybe a bunch of robots or something. Who knows? And they cleaned it all up. But where did it all go? But then you hear they found these things like in the ground, like this hammer that's supposed to be, like, I don't know, 17 million years old or something, like way, way, way before our history on Earth. And then other people say, oh, no, that thing aged because it was the pressure and the rock and the temperature, and
Have you ever seen the movie The Time Machine? To Orson Welles' story.
That was,
there's a new rendition of it that's like came out the year 2000, and the premise is a guy's wife he goes to ask his girlfriend to marry him, and she gets killed, so he builds a time machine to try to go back and save her. And he realizes no matter how many times he goes back and saves her from the one thing that's going to kill her, something else kills her.
Interesting.
So he thinks, okay, maybe I can't change the past. Maybe there's something in the future that I can learn that will help me with this. So he goes into the future. He ends up in New York City in the, and maybe like, I'd be interested to see what year that was, maybe 2025, 2030. And we're colonizing the moon. And then he goes about 5 years forward from there, and it's like Armageddon on Earth. And he asked somebody, like, what's happening? And they said, well, we're colonizing the moon, and from the blasting on the moon is breaking up and crashing to Earth. So he gets in a tussle, and he goes in his time machine, he hits his head, and he knocks the thing to go forward. And he goes a million years in the future. And there's this really cool scene where Mother Nature takes over and just turns everything back green, and everything gets kind of like reconsumed by the earth. The buildings get vines all over them, and then all of a sudden he's in what would be like an indigenous time, where this indigenous people find him, and they're all living in these huts on the side of this mountain. And it's almost like it's hard to he went in the future, but it looks like he went back in time because existence has restarted.
Yeah, wow.
Where these people are now like living off the land and whatnot.
Yeah, that's almost what I feel sometimes. Exactly what you're saying. I should watch that movie. I didn't know that it was so much substance to that. I thought it was more like, he went in this little box. Sounds like more.
It's very like philosophical.
I would like that.
And it's like almost like we came from where there was high technology during the Egyptian times. The world came to an Armageddon, whether it's an asteroid strike or something. All of that shit's wiped out, and then we start over.
Right. Right.
One of the things in that movie, though, is there are these people, these beasts that live underground, and they can inject themselves into the minds of the humans upstairs on Earth, and they like give them terrible dreams and whatnot, and they actually feed on the humans.
Wow.
So what happened was there was a split where during this Armageddon, some people went underground and some people stayed up top, and they evolved that then they were growing the humans like cattle. And using them to feed on, and they're able to use mind control. Anyway, it's a very long story.
And this is Orson Welles.
I think so. The Time Machine.
Because I didn't know that was even those kind of thoughts were even around back then.
Yes,
that's back in the day.
Yes, you got to watch the film.
Fascinated so it shows that this awareness that you're talking about right there was here.
That's right.
That was probably, I'm guessing, 80 years ago when you wrote that. Or something,
right. And that potentially we are in the future of a very advanced civilization's past.
Yeah.
And we've and who knows, there could be another split that happened where there's a more highly evolved creature on this planet that's pulling all of the fucking strings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you believe in aliens?
Yeah. I believe that they're probably us from another dimension in the future. Probably. There's I have to say there's one race in a certain sense, and they've morphed and evolved and mutated, but in a sense they're all not exactly the same DNA, but there's going to be lots of similarities.
Yeah.
I really believe that. But that's interesting when you start thinking about possibility of other weirdness, like on science fiction, like, insect aliens or I don't know.
So why is it so often used? This is a sidebar. You know how people say your reptilian brain?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's like a scientific term.
Yeah.
Your reptilian brain. But most of us are pretty sure that we came from apes. So what do they mean, your reptilian brain?
It's the one that is based on nothing more than survival and instinct.
So like primal.
Primal. Yeah. In other words, the way a lizard would work. What's he do? He comes and he sits in the sun. Maybe, who knows? Maybe he's meditating, but he looks really chilled out, right?
Yeah.
But then, boy, when there's something, he'll either, fight or flight instantly.
Right.
And there's no other stuff going on that we can prove. There's no other brain things except basic survival, either eat, relax, sleep, fight, or run.
But I wonder what the difference is between
That's
your
reptilian.
reptilian brain and your primal instincts. Is this the same thing, just two different terms?
Yeah,
Or when they
I
say
think so.
reptilian, are they talking a million years before the apes?
Well, they're talking about that possibility of that we came from that.
Right.
Because with evolution, that's all the theories. We came from a little amoeba, and the amoeba became a little fish, and the
then
little
a
fish
shrew or
got some
something like that?
legs, and and then the reptiles came. So
Right. And then from there, we eventually became the apes.
So I think that brain is still in us, and it's our basic. It's in a lot of the animals, a lot of them. But the more warm-blooded they become, or the more their brains evolve, they become more and more empathic, or connected to each other, or able to, let's say, enjoy life. Maybe
It's true. Have you heard the theory?
chill out. And,
I don't know if it's Terrence McKenna or there's a gentleman who had a theory that aliens came to Earth and put their DNA in lower hominids,
Yeah,
and that we could be a version of these aliens.
exactly.
Like an
Mhm,
alien
mhm.
experiment.
Yeah, and there could be multiple planets like this, and multiple colonies, or we don't know, or this could be the only. And it's a bold statement. This could be the only Earth. There's nobody else like us anywhere else, and we're like this experiment
Which would explain
in
why
free will.
aliens have such a vested interest in us not blowing ourselves
Right.
off of the planet.
Because they're giving us 100% free will. Maybe everywhere else out there, it's not free will. Or maybe they've got it mastered so well, they want to learn from us. Like, maybe we are a virtual reality show, and they're watching us.
Yeah.
Each of us is a pretty famous character.
Right.
And there's how many people in the world?
7 plus
7
billion.
Okay. Each one of those people is known by multitudes, and they're rooting for us.
Do you think
They're
all
watching. Who
of the
knows?
people? Do you think all of the people are known, or do you think? Have you heard of there's a movie that just came out, like it's called "Free That Guy" or "Free Guy, Free Man," and it's based on the fact that he is what they call an NPC, a non-player character in the game. So if you were to play Grand Theft Auto and you're running through town and you come across these people in the street and they have pre-programmed reactions to you, right?
Yeah.
Those are called non-player characters. Well, in this movie, this guy realizes that he's a non-player character, but then he comes out of it.
Cool. That sounds interesting.
Do you
Yeah.
think that everybody on Earth is a player character, or do you think that some or a large majority of the bodies that populate this Earth are non-player characters, and the only characters that are carnated or embodied by essence are the ones that we come across?
Wow, I had thought of that way, way back. Yeah, when I was kind of little.
You
If that
know?
makes sense. I was thinking, it's really hard to explain. It's just a theory or a feeling or a thought. It's not but maybe a lot of these people are just props.
Right.
And there's only a few of us. Like, I don't know, in this, we said 7.5 billion. Is that, maybe there's, I don't know, 1 billion or 500 million that are real.
That are real.
Right. And I kind of, well, maybe that's true.
Who knows?
I've had abstract thoughts on my own without reading, without talking to people. And then when I hear these things, I'm kind of like, oh, yeah, I kind of thought that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of reinforces, anything is possible if you believe it. There was something that I came across one time a few years ago. I did some plant medicines and things. It helped me a lot.
Like
But
an
there was-
ayahuasca?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, shit.
And it said, everything is real, everything is true, everything exists. It's up to you to choose. And they would wait 5 seconds. It would say, so choose wisely.
Really?
And it would wait about 10 seconds. Everything is real, everything is true, everything exists. It's up to you to choose. Now choose wisely. And I'm like, okay, I got it. That was like a message. And I never had that many messages from whatever. It was almost like a program in a loop, just teaching me something about your belief and your intentions, and it makes it real. That's why two people can argue almost to the death or have a war or whatever. It's because there's two opposing sides. When in reality, there's only one side, and that side is really in the middle.
Right.
Because for every argument, there's always an anti-argument.
Yeah.
So the one that gets stronger, it makes the other one stronger. So that's what causes, until they finally give up. One gives up. There's like three things that happen. They both do a truce. One gives up, or they meet in the middle, right? Or maybe the fourth would be they both get annihilated. So that's why we need to be careful with what's going on right now with the war, Ukraine, and our focus on, is it going to be a negative outcome or a positive outcome? Like, I think all of us together have a more influence with our compassion, our beliefs, our expectations, our optimism than we realize.
Like the collective conscious?
Yes. You can contribute a lot just by sending your compassion and your belief and your prayers, versus your money helps, positive words helps, but hatred does not. It doesn't.
I made a page in 2011 or 2012 called Save the World with Positive Thought.
All right.
I had this realization that I'm a big believer in the law of attraction, and that what you think and what you say, you create. And you can create good things in your life or bad things in your life by virtue of what you focus on and talk about. Then I realized, well, if that's the case, then what happens if everybody in the world is thinking the world's going to end? That could cause terrible things for our world. But what if we all shifted our conscious and our thoughts to positivity? Everything's going to be okay. We're going to make it through out of this. There's going to be light at the end of the tunnel. How could that collective conscious not positively impact our future?
Right. That's a real good point.
Go check out Save the World with Positive Thought and start thinking positive things out there. No, Bentley.
That's on a daily basis. It's not like just something you wrote years ago.
Right.
It's true right now, today.
Right.
Sometimes your greatest expressions come when you're not completely turned into an old adult.
Yeah.
And you're just forming reality, and you capture it. You record it. You make a book. You write some poetry. You give a speech or whatever. You find some part of your job or a hobby. Those are some valuable gifts right there. So that part of you should always be with you on a daily basis. And just by you saying that and you telling me, that's passing it on. And then now I'm saying it, it's passed on. Whoever watches, things work that way.
Right.
As well. And that's where you got to get away. You got to watch out who is passing these messages from an authoritative place, like the government, the military industrial complex, the Illuminati, whoever they may be or whatever. There's some strong messages there that are just want us to just be little organic machines.
Yeah, well, the news is telling us all the time the world is ending.
I know, but haven't they said that from day one, in a sense? Like, oh, the skyfall.
Yeah, it's constantly telling us that, like, if you watch the news for a few days, you'll feel like this is the end of the world.
Right.
But then I would talk to my mom about this, and she's like, "You should have lived through the '60s."
Everybody was tripping.
Yeah, or maybe the 70s, or there's always like an existential threat that feels like the world is in the worst condition it's ever been in. When we are literally progressively getting a better and better world, a safer world.
We're in the best time ever. We are.
Right.
I mean, it's wide open. It's wide open, and it's always been that way, but we just got so many tools at our disposal that we could save the world quickly, especially something like the oceans and water. I think that's a big next thing, is that water's going to start becoming a valuable resource. It's going to get in shorter and shorter supply.
That's terrifying.
Maybe that's being manipulated as well. Maybe water can be cleaned, but they say, it can't. There's certain things like from gasoline and
can't we desalinate?
That's what I'm trying to say. Yes, I think with technology, we have the power to fix even that. And again, that approaches the creation. Like, for all we know, we're going to say, oh, we got to go relocate to another planet and start again.
Which we're working on right now.
But if we did that, then yes, we have the technology to do it. But so why can't we just do it like right now? You know, kind of work together instead of just look for problems.
Well, for some reason, the powers that be don't want us to work together.
I know. And that's right. And that's where you have to realize that is the minority. There's only a few, probably, the powers that be. I mean, how many people you think that is? I don't know. It's probably not that many.
1,000.
Yeah, and they got shitloads of resource and shitloads of influence.
They control it all.
Right. But what are they controlling? They're trying to control our perception of reality. They're not controlling reality.
Yes.
They're trying to control our beliefs. And that's why I was talking about our beliefs earlier. They want you to even control your intentions. Like when you wake up, what's your main objective?
Check Facebook.
I got to buy stuff. I got to get on Facebook. I don't have enough. My neighbor hates me. my son is mad at me. My wife is going to leave me. You know, just so many things.
Instead of, I'm so blessed that I woke up again.
Yeah. Each day is a brand new life. You got a brand new chance. There's a reason you were chosen to still be here. There's a reason. You got to do something that day, even if it's just for you. Make the most of it. It's not. It doesn't come easy. I mean, it wasn't easy for us to be where we are. Probably to be born is probably the hardest thing ever because you fall from grace.
Interesting.
And maybe that's our fear. The fear of dying is just the fact that you lose all your memories. It's not so much how you're going to feel. It's just what you're going to lose.
The conscious understanding of your existence.
Right.
Are you afraid of death?
I'd say yes, but I don't resist it and I don't fear it all the way.
Yeah. I used to be
I'd say
terrified of death.
I'm really not. Only if I start focusing on it, I can kind of bum myself out. And then I say, ultimately, I am not scared of it. No.
Right.
But my first reaction, hell yeah.
Right, because this is awesome, and I don't want this to end.
Right, and none of us do, and we have to respect that. Like, that's one thing that people do to harm each other, and that's not right. I think sometimes there's so much fear and anger in the world is because our fear of death. Like we want to break the illusion. We're trying to, there's anger because we can't prove this is real. So I'm just going to kill someone. Because he's not doing nothing for me, boom, or whatever. When I think that anger or whatever that is, striking out on someone, it's still because you're angry at, you don't think this is real. But it is, because you're here. There's something real about it. It may not be 100% real, but it's real enough for you to work with. And it's real enough to share. And it's real enough to look at the positive side of that. Right?
Yeah, I agree completely. You know, I used to be very scared of death. And it was, you know, that fear of this life not happening anymore. And then, I don't know, at some point, obviously I don't want this amazing life that I've been gifted with to end. But it's like when you go to sleep each night, you know, that's a small death. And you would just hope that would be the way you go out. But I just can't imagine that there's not something on the other side of that.
Right.
I don't think that there's nothing on the. I used to think there was nothingness, and that was my fear. Was the fear of the unknown and the fear of darkness.
Yeah.
But it just seems like I've come to realize that just like how we wake up each day, I believe you would wake up after death.
Yeah.
You know, into something else.
Right.
And we may not have these memories anymore, but you don't know what you don't know.
Right. And it doesn't matter. It's okay because in the collective, you're still here. Your ego may be a different ego, but there's still something underneath the ego. And that's the common part of all of us. The ego is just the shell. And so, it's a scary thing to maybe lose your ego. But if you've ever lost your ego, some people have, like an ego death, there's something else still there. And I've had that happen maybe 2 or 3 times in my life through, the plant medicines.
Yeah, I've had it accidentally happen through marijuana, through a dab I took.
Wow.
I had a fucking terrifying experience where I thought I had slipped into a parallel existence. And it before it happened, I had this awakening of like, oh my God, I've been wasting so much time. I need to take advantage of all of my opportunities. And then that triggered a panic attack. And then it was fucking terrifying. But I told my wife, I'm like, babe, like I had an out-of-body experience that I think has changed me. And she's like, yeah, whatever you fucking say, dude. And then she'll tell you this to this day. Blake is a changed man from when that happened.
That's cool.
I had an ego death.
When you came out of that, you became more humble, probably, more loving, more optimistic,
and more motivated to make shit happen.
Yeah.
And not sit around and wait for shit to happen.
And follow your higher guide.
Yes.
Your passions.
Yes.
And don't get caught up in the drama of things like Facebook and overindulging in food or overworking and pushing yourself towards nothing more than consuming. Be a creator, and you're doing a good creation here.
Thank you, dude. Thank you. So if like we go on to somewhere else after we die, like I've lost my brother, God rest his soul, but I still feel him.
Yeah.
I still feel his presence. I feel his
Isn't it
grace,
crazy? Yeah,
like guiding me on and reminding me that I'm on the right path. What do you think that's just like something that we hold on to for our own good, or do you think that there is like some sort of connection there with the soul?
Yeah, I think there's a connection. It's probably him, but it's probably everybody else that crossed over in a way. Like I said, maybe they're rooting for you. Maybe they're waiting in their spirit world in a perfect existence, and they want contrast. They want drama. They want challenge. They want to grow. They want to forget and wake up and from the eyes of a child that goes out into the world where anything is possible. They dream of that. Maybe you have to wait 1,000 years to come back here. Maybe there is no heaven. Maybe this is it. It's kind of what you believe. It all comes down to what you believe. So whatever you do believe, I think ultimately you'll create that. It may change. Your beliefs are not always. We're looking for eternity, but as soon as we had that, if we have it, we're going to want to change it. We want to have something to look forward to, even if it might be reverting back, the end of the universe, get recreated. Boom. It never ends. Good luck. Wherever you go, whatever you do, you're still going to be searching. You're not going to know everything. I don't care. Maybe even God doesn't know everything. And that's why he had to do the Big Bang to create everything that he's not to become who he is by seeing all the contrast. And so each one of us is doing that, in different universes or different points in time.
I saw a meme once that was an interesting theory that said, what if if you die, you see like the light and it's like go towards the light or whatever. This is going to be a little crude, but what if the light that you see is the end of the vaginal canal that you're coming out of? Yeah. And when you're crying, when you come out crying and screaming as a baby, it's because for that instance, you know that you died from your past life.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and it was scary.
Yeah.
And so you're fearing death.
Right. But then all of that's wiped away.
And then you're born.
Right. And then you get this whole new opportunity at life. And, when you hear somebody's an old soul, that phrase, they're an old soul, and you see some 6-year-old kid that just feels like they fucking know things that they shouldn't know. There's actually evidence of this.
I know.
Of one specific kid that I can think of, and he was able to tell a story that actually happened.
There's a few of those. They say somewhere around 4.5 years old, you have all your memories, and then all of a sudden you start to lose them really quickly. So when the child is just learning to talk, there's so many things that they can remember, and they know some of the secrets that we're searching for. We would just let them babble and like ask them questions like, do you remember anything from when you were like long ago? Ask them questions. They'll probably know.
And the interesting thing is that they don't have the language to be able to articulate it.
Yeah.
And what if they came out talking? Imagine the things they would say.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Right. What if there's a day where we could, it sounds kind of creepy, but you could hook up a device to a brain that's a young one and pick up what they're thinking.
So
Or,
that's like Neuralink. Have you heard of Elon Musk's
Yeah.
Neuralink?
Yeah, I haven't. I don't even hardly read it because it kind of spooks me out.
Yeah.
I think when I was younger, I used to think, oh, this was the coolest thing, and this is what's going to fix us, and this. But it's like any other technology. It has for everything that exists. There's always
Good and bad.
yeah
Potential.
because we live in a dualistic world.
Right.
Everything works that way. Everything.
Well, they say that about like, powerful things, like in the wrong hands,
yeah.
this thing could create turmoil, but in the right hands, it could create world peace.
Right. Right.
Why does so much of it always end up in the wrong hands?
I know, and that's right. It's just the way it is. That's welcome to the world. Welcome to your life. Welcome to
Do you
existence.
think? Do you think that Putin is on a path of world domination, or do you just think he wants Ukraine?
Probably a little bit of both, but I still think there's some hidden agenda going on that we might be involved in. But I've heard, this is just a theory, I don't know if I believe it, but they say Ukraine has a lot of dark souls that up to really some bad things, and they're trying to rid the goodness in the world is trying to, whatever the forces are above Putin, are trying to rid these people from doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I've heard a similar theory. It's
Have you heard
weird.
that? Yeah.
It's weird that we're in this time where, there's a guy invading a country, shooting missiles and blowing up maternity wards, and some people think that there's a hidden agenda that to do good there, because it's again
Right,
we've been lied to so much that we don't know what's real and what's not. Like I've heard these stories about that there's bioengineering labs in Ukraine.
Right. That, yeah.
And he's trying to wipe that stuff out.
Right.
What a fucking time to be alive, dude.
I know.
Well, like
It
you
is.
said, it's like it's not on accident that we're here.
Right,
It's not on
right.
accident that you and I are having this conversation.
I know.
And
Yeah.
discussing what's happening on the other side of the world,
And there may be someone that, hears our message and it changes them in a certain way.
which then in turn could change the
yeah.
world.
Yeah, of course.
Because even though there's 7 billion of us, 8 billion of us, there's still the thing that one man can change the world. One woman can change
Yeah.
the world. We never know if the next person who falls out of a vagina is going to come up with a cure to cancer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Even though they have cures. Yeah. When-
That's the fucking truth.
Yeah,
How about, all these doctors that
I
end
know.
up fucking dead?
I know. There's definitely so much that's covered up, and it's all based on fear, which is, again, based on that you feel like there's not enough to go around, that you're separated from your fellow man, that you're separated from the creator, you're separated from the universe. That's all a lie. And I think even those people know it, but maybe on a subconscious level.
Right.
They've convinced themselves, if you you believe something strong enough, it overrides your subconscious and your reality of what you're creating. You're actually controlling what you think you're creating, but a lot of people are suffering due to that. There's also lots of good that people do, but on the other side of that, there can be harm being done. Like all of our inventions that we're talking about, certain things.
I think the guy who came up with
everything
nuclear power,
Yeah.
he was like he meant to do good. He was trying to do good,
Right.
but then very quickly realized that this is not
Right.
fucking good
He
because
said
they're
it
going to
was-
use it for
right.
nuclear
I think
bombs.
it was Einstein, or is that it was also his greatest failure.
Right. Right, yeah. There's also a story about the people who came up with, maybe it was nuclear power, and they were like using all of this nuclear it was like for stuff that got used for chemotherapy, but it like killed them while they were making it.
Yeah.
There's a
yeah.
movie about it. It's very good. I can't think of the
Interesting.
name of the movie, but this couple that were coming up with these chemicals, some sort of they figured out radiation,
Mm-hmm.
but it killed them both. But then it ended up saving lots of lives. So there's
Yeah.
the flip side of that too. Something can start off and being very dangerous, and then
Exactly.
can be harnessed in a good light.
Yeah.
You just hope that light wins,
Mm-hmm.
and not darkness.
Right. And I think the darkness is the one they're trying to buy time and resources so that they can build immortality for themselves, I think.
Ah.
But isn't that what a vampire is?
Yeah. That's right. And don't people in movies and stuff, the people who are immortal, isn't it like a curse?
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. The vampire is very seductive and powerful and it's got all this stuff, but it's mostly dark.
Yeah.
And it's mostly suffering. And yes,
There's
that's what
that
I think.
movie-
If the people would just look at some of the basic laws of that sort of thing, like what are they really trying to do? I don't think, I don't think it's right. And I think even above that, there's the supreme goodness. These are just parts of steps of creation.
I think it's beautiful, man.
You can't take it personally. You gotta, don't curse the wicked and give compassion for the suffering. There's 4 laws of Patanjali's. I don't remember exactly what it was, but those are 2 of them. In other words, disregard for the wicked. Like, don't go up against them because it's only going to turn into a battle.
It gives it life.
Disregard. In other words, maybe it doesn't exist until you look at it.
Yeah, like if a tree falls in the woods, does it really fall?
Right.
Not really.
You know the thing about the particle, like when you look at it, it's only in one place, but when you're not looking, it's in multiple places at once.
No,
Infinite.
I haven't heard this.
Yeah, there's something with the wave going through a hole or something, and they measured it. When they're looking at it with a camera, it's only making like one place, but when they're not looking, it's a wave, and it's all sorts of particles. In other words, one particle does not exist. It exists in multiple places. In quantum physics.
Quantum physics, like
Yeah.
I can't, like it just, I don't
I
even
know.
know where to start. But
Right.
there's some people who are so entrenched in this that it's like this is creating like what our world is going to be, quantum computing and all
Yeah.
of this. And
Yeah.
even the word quantum, I don't know what the fuck that
I
means.
know, me neither, barely. All I know is the quantum computer is not the thing that we need to worry about so much as the AI.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the quantum is more for, I think, prediction of probabilities,
Okay.
trends,
Yeah.
number crunching, and things like that. Like probability more than like manipulation of physical things like robots and all.
Yeah.
That comes with AI. I think.
Well, AI is terrifying.
We already got it in a way. Like,
Oh yeah, Elon Musk was warning about it for years,
yeah.
saying, "Listen, we got to keep this under like control. We got to be careful with what we create here because we could create an AI that okay, so say you program the AI to say, you need to solve global warming. This is a huge problem that faces humanity, global warming.
right.
So we could tell the computer solve global warming, and guess what? The computer realizes it's the humans.
right.
The humans are causing global warming, and then they just wipe us out. It's like Terminator.
I was just checking because I'm on call at work, but no message. I
Yeah,
thought
no doubt, no doubt. Well, listen, you and I could go on for hours and hours, bud.
We could. It's fun.
And I appreciate you sitting down and just kind of spitballing the meaning of life is what we did here, And I think the coolest thing about it is we don't know. And it's exciting to be able to continue to theorize on what the fuck we're doing here. What
Right.
does it all mean? And
Right.
in the meantime, be grateful for the time you get here.
Exactly. And we have a chance right now with technology to put ourselves in there, but the good parts of ourselves. Say we do become androids or something in the next evolution of human, like give them a heart and soul, right? Versus the fear of death and destruction and not enough to go around and separation. Those are all illusions. That just passes. Build ourselves in there, the eternal, the creator, the loving, the goodness, the light. That's where we came from. And so why can't we create it just by looking for it?
Beautifully said, man. I hope that you guys who are making the robots out there and building the AI build in love.
Yeah, and you teach your children to program with compassion
Yeah.
and intention. We have the power to do it. It's there. It's at our fingertips.
I love it, man. Do you
Yeah.
have a social media?
Yeah.
Would you want to share it if people are into your ideologies and methodology of thinking and want to link up with you online?
Oh yeah, sure. You mean
Like an Instagram page for people to reach out to you on or something like that?
Yeah.
Whatever. What's your Instagram?
I have. I think it's well, my Facebook is James McClure.
James McClure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Instagram I have, and I think it's something like James M333. I'm not certain.
Okay. All right.
But I'm on there. I think it knows if you're on my Facebook, it can find my Instagram.
Yeah. Just look up James McClure.
Yeah.
Great
I
dude,
don't
man.
do a lot of Instagram, but I might start doing it. Because to me, Instagram, I have trouble seeing, like sometimes you want to look backwards and see like I don't know, Facebook is just easier for me.
Yeah, well, Facebook seems to be ordered
Historical.
chronologically.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Yep, and Instagram is no longer chronological.
Yeah,
They
it's just
changed
kind
all
of
that.
captured.
Yeah.
For the day, and it's temporary and fleeting. Yeah.
Cool. Well, or you can find him here at Hakuna Matata. James is here regularly, and you can continue this conversation with him right here at the bar. My friend, I appreciate you very much. This has been a great time. You're a very interesting dude with really cool theories, and I'm excited to continue this conversation maybe a couple months down the road.
Yeah, I hope you keep doing what you're doing because you're very good at keeping everything in a box, even though we were way out of the box.
It's the fun of it, and I appreciate that, man. I will continue. And you guys, thanks for being a fly on the wall during this conversation. If you like what you heard and want to hear more, like, comment, subscribe, and be on the lookout for Mr. James McClure. He's a cool dude.
And
thanks, guys.
Mr. Bentley.
Mr. Bentley, who is down here at the bottom, who did fairly well. He's an excited boy.
He's 8 months.
He's an excited boy. What kind of dog is he?
He's half Corgi and half Australian Shepherd.
He's a Corgepard.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the term, but he's very cute and a sweet boy. All right, my friends, we'll see you next time live from Hakuna. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you. Bye.
Later.